Oh Lord, it's saying low battery. Jesus, that's okay. Hold on, let me get my charger.
Hi, you are watching. Hey, you're watching the Be Who You Want to Be series. I'm Miriam, president of the Mayshad chapter with Join Mayshad, the New York-based company that empowers young women to build their professional and personal networks. Our conversation today is Portrayal of Women in Media. We have actress, director, and producer Tanji Miller. Welcome, Tanji.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the warm welcome.
So, Tanji, how are you dealing with quarantine and the continued pandemic that we're all facing?
Oh God, it is a challenge. It's hard not touching people and giving everybody 6 feet and sometimes a lot more,
Yeah.
But I'm surviving. Once upon a time, I had to go to the bank and a person would sneeze. You go, bless you. Now everybody looks like, what's wrong with you? So it's really different. And I think this is the new normal. So we all have to figure out how to deal with it. And I think talking about it helps.
Mm-hmm. Could you tell us a bit about your life, where you grew up?
Yeah, I am born in Miami, kind of like North Miami. A lot of people hear of South Beach. You would say near North Beach City, Carroll City. And I born and raised there. I went to college in Montgomery, Alabama, Alabama State. Go Hornets! And then from college, I thought I wanted to go into business and real estate, which I also do. And I think it's really important when you're artists to do business as well as the arts because sometimes it doesn't happen for you right away. So you want to support your life as an artist, and usually artists are very diverse. So college in Alabama, which was really really wonderful for me, to go away from what I thought Miami was more of a city to even a smaller city. As a young person, it was a lot safer and also easier on my parents to be in a city like that. But after about 4 or 5 years, I was ready to go to a big city. And for me, it was a choice between New York and Los Angeles. And I checked both cities out, and no problem, New Yorkers. But California was more my speed. The sun, the weather, and being a Floridian, it just blended with me better. So I went to graduate school at the University of California, Irvine, and I just thought it was beautiful. I love the weather and the opportunity to study, and then from there, I started my career.
Wow, that's great. So
That's a
how old
lot of
were you?
development.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I
But
know.
how old were you when you really decided that you felt you wanted to be an actress?
I was a junior in college, and I had started in business and marketing, and then I was like, God, this is taking forever. So I was like, I I had talked to my teacher about how can I finish it. I wanted to get my degree. I didn't want to set back and just study theater at that point because I had been studying business and with minor in marketing. And I've been taking drama classes just because it was my hobby and I loved it. So when I decided I didn't want to start all over, I just kind of wanted to finish. And so I did some communication, which I thought was great and very helpful for acting. And then I decided I would go to graduate school. But before I did that, I felt like I was behind people who had already decided that they wanted to be an actor and they had been studying and doing plays and all of that stuff. And I did a little, but it wasn't my main focus. So I probably was, uh, think I might have been like 19-ish, 19, 20. I know I was a junior in college. And then from there, I just went full steam from studying, in London to New York. I went to Chautauqua. Some people, I don't know if they know that, but Chautauqua's Conservatory summer program is a really, really wonderful to kind of kickstart. Even if you have been acting for a while, it's a good place to go if you want to go to graduate school or if you want to you want to study drama in undergrad.
That's awesome. So you were also studying in London then before or
Yeah, I did
after
the
Los
summer
Angeles?
program there. I did a summer program there, and they took people from all around the country, and we just really all around the world, and we kind of studied, yeah, at the Royal National Theater, and it was really wonderful because at the time, theater was my focus. I wanted to take my career very seriously. Some people, when they want to be an actor, they know they want to be a film actor. At the time, I really wanted to understand what I thought was the mother of acting, and theater was kind of where it is. And some people still feel that way, and some people go, oh, it's really different. It is different, but I still think the base is in theater. So I wanted to study theater. I wanted to study classical theater. I wanted to study contemporary theater. I wanted to do it all before I got into film and television, if that makes sense. So, and I felt like I was behind the ball because I had been, focusing on business and marketing and communications and everything, but what I had now decided I wanted to be my life. So I kind of wanted to do everything, and everything that I could do, I did. And I like to encourage people to really study your craft because you're going to get a lot of rejection if you choose to be an artist in any kind of way because everybody's not going to get you. And especially as an actor, sometimes you will get, 100 no's before you get the yes. And sometimes that one yes is the big yes that kind of changes your life. But the one thing that you can control is how you feel about the work. And you can feel good about the work if you're confident in the fact that you know what you're doing. And so I wanted to be clear about, I'm able to take this character, break it down, and make it live. It may not be the character that you see, it may not be what you envision, but I can, bring life to something and honest life to it and have a form and a format and all of that. So I wanted to be confident because I understood there was going to be a lot of rejection and I just wanted to be confident what I was going to deliver. Whether, you like it or not, because you can't make a person hire you. And you just may not be physically right for what the director or the producer or whomever has in their mind. And but you can be clear about the work that you're doing, and understanding how you get to that character, making it, live and honest and believable to people that are watching.
That's really interesting. I'm glad I learned about your experience in London because I haven't found it anywhere in any of your bios, but that's so cool. And
Oh,
so, what initially attracted you to acting and then led you down the path to producing and directing? I'm just interested in that transition.
okay. I started acting, I think, sophomore sophomore of no, I think it was my last semester of ninth grade. I moved to a different school and I kind of got in at the end and they threw me in an acting class and I was just like, what are they doing? you know? But it was so fun and I had a lot of stuff going on at home and being able to kind of lose myself in the characters was so much fun. And it was just the funnest thing ever, but it was a hobby. So I guess I kind of really started in like end of ninth grade, going to 10th grade in high school. And it was always just a hobby. But I come from a very practical family, and you don't go to school for drama and acting. It's just not in my family, a serious job. So you go for something more, serious. So I didn't feel that my family would get behind me at the time. That was my perspective. It's just like, how do you make a living doing that? That's just so far fetched. So I never took it seriously until I was a junior in college, after doing all these other things, and I realized this makes me really, really happy, and I really want to do this, and I'm going to try. So once I decided to do that, I was like, okay, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to give it a few years after graduate school, and if I can figure out how to make a living at it, I'll continue. If I can't make a living at it, I was going to stop and do something more practical. And thank God I got Felicity, and that was really, really wonderful, because it was the beginning of my life as an actor, as a professional actor, where I could get paid and actually pay my bills and buy a home and all that good stuff. So I guess after working, for 3, 4 years, maybe even 5 or 6 years, you start to understand all the pieces, the director, the producers, the writers, the runners, the ADs, everybody that's a part of it. So you understand producing, but you're not, I wasn't thinking of producing. And actually, one of my friends who is an actor, he wrote a script, and he was like, will you be in my movie? And I was like, sure. Yeah. I didn't realize what I had said yes to. So I guess, oh my God, I'm going back. I decided to do this independent film, if you will. And after having worked on professional stuff, where you have like everybody, the trailers, the scripty, the person that, if you say your line wrong, they're gonna, and the wardrobe person, and just a team for everything, to like nothing. And I was like, hey, you don't have scripting. What if who's gonna give us our line? You don't have an AD. I mean, I was just like, we don't even have a base camp. So, and I was just like, there's so much that's missing. So I was like, okay, let me help you. We can have this place. This can be our base camp. Okay, okay, you can be scripty, and then I just start putting everybody in their place, almost. Just trying to create what I had been doing for the last 4 or 5 years. So I found myself producing, and he was like, well, hey, you're producing, and I was like, you think? And he was like, yeah. Would you help? Would you co-produce this with me? And I was like, I'm not sure, but I didn't want to see him fail, because he was a friend of mine. I said, okay, well, I'll try to co-produce. And I was just like, okay. Well, then we started looking at the paperwork, and we just kind of went through everything. Like, in order to do an independent film, you've got to call SAG, which is the Screen Actors Guild, and you've got to make sure that they're okay with us doing that. So I started doing paperwork, and just kind of putting everything together, and that was so difficult, because we had kids, we had all kinds of stuff. He had an elaborate script. And then I was like, if we did this a little differently, this could be a whole lot easier. And I had a funny story. Well, it was actually kind of a sad story, about a girl from New York, which I've actually put in Chicago, who she kind of created this whole wedding to kind of please her family, and but she wasn't married yet, so she was dating, and her family wanted her to get married. But now I'm getting to the thing. But so this started me to write, and when I started writing, and then after having had that experience, basically producing, if you could call it, I decided I would do my first project. And it went great. I mean, we got picked up by Image Entertainment. It went really well, and I just loved it. And after that, I just went from there. So I guess I started out helping a friend, to answer the question more specifically, and I kind of got into it, head first, And then once I got into it, I realized you can do this if you organize a little bit more up front. And I think my personality lends itself to producing. I'm the eldest of six. I was like class president. I was always kind of putting things together. So I think that also helped. And then after you get the first one, then you want to do another one, and then you realize this is possible. You can work with your friends, other actors, directors, or producers, and the project kind of call the people to it that will be a part of it, as much as you go seeking the people as well. So after some success, you just keep doing it. And that's kind of how it happened for me.
That's really cool. It seems like everything just came naturally for you, and I just find that so cool. That actually leads me into my next question. So you got your start on the Emmy Award-winning WB show Felicity that ran from 98 to 2002, but you also received an NAACP nomination for it. And what was it like playing that character, Elena Tyler?
It was wonderful because I had just finished graduate school. First of all, I was playing much younger than I am, but well, at the time, I felt like I was playing so much younger. It was like, I don't know, 5, 7 years or something like that. But I it was wonderful because J.J. Abrams is, the bomb. A lot of people know him for all the work that he's done, and being able to kind of start my career with a writer like that, who's also, music, it's a music director, producer type person. They kind of set the stage for everything. But the character was fun. I understood her. I'm not a New Yorker, but I had visited New York and I had gone, so I could relate to that type of person being from New York. But she was, she wasn't me, but she was like, many women that I had seen, and I had aspects of my personality that was like her. She was a doctor. I never wanted to be a doctor, but she was going to school to be a doctor. But I had so much fun, and the thing is, the characters lived with you, and it was nice that she was a good, nice person, because sometimes when you play a part for years, the characters kind of live with you and they become a part of you. And so it was fun to play her. And it was exciting, to just kind of lose myself in that character for a long time, for that long of a time. Because sometimes, you do a movie, you do a play, and then it's done. But when you get to kind of live with a character for 3, 4 years, you really understand what they would do. And sometimes, they would write things or say things, and I would go, she wouldn't say that. You really can hear the character speak. And what I liked about J.J. Abrams is he would listen if you felt like the character wouldn't do that. He would, if you had a good explanation, he would go, okay, yeah, okay, I understand. So I think that's really nice when you can kind of bring a character to life and try to find the honesty in it and kind of work with it for a while. So I totally enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's interesting that you mentioned how roles that you play stick with you. Have you played any roles that have inspired you? Like, what roles have you played that inspired you the most, and why?
Okay, you may laugh at this, but I did this silly movie called Leprechaun Back to the Hood. No offense, Steve, the director. I love the movie. It was so much fun, but I felt like Superwoman because she could do all these things and she beats the leprechaun. It was a lot of fun to play that, and I just felt like strong. I'm hanging from the roof, and I'm up on a Willie. I did all my own stunts, and it made me feel like I wanted to do a little bit of action because I'm a little bit physical, and it made me want to do more physical things. So I was really inspired by that character. Um, yeah, I would say that. I forget her name. I think was she Emily? I think she was Emily. Emily was the character. Emily, yeah.
That's so funny. I'll have to go watch it. When I looked your bio up,
it's crazy because it's Leprechaun in the Hood, but she was really fun to play, and I just had a really good time. Of course, they did like 6 versions of it with a lot of different types of people, but it was fun, and it's actually it goes on, it comes on all the time, and people really watch that. But yeah, you should watch it. It's a silly little horror, fun, action type. It's everything in it.
That sounds awesome. So that leads me to my next question. You're the founder of 2 production companies, Olivia Entertainment, based in LA, and Hollywood East, based in Atlanta. Was there something specific that prompted you to become an entrepreneur, or a specific moment or person who inspired you?
I have a professor from Alabama State who has been a mentor all my life, like since I was, what, 18, 19. And he really inspires me, and he's set me up to understand what's coming. And I would say Dr. Clifford Reed is a friend. He's become family, and he has inspired and helped direct me my entire career. And I'm so appreciative. Um, it's really wonderful when you have professors, and counselors and people at school that kind of help you and push you and support you as you go. I didn't want to finish my master's, and he was just like, get the degree. I was like, I don't need the degree to be an actor. I've studied and I'm just sick of this. And I was like, because by the time just before I graduated, I was ready to go to Hollywood and audition and get an agent and a manager. And he was like, get it, this completed. And I needed that support. And there's just so many things that I could point out, from just investing and passive income. With passive income, I didn't understand that. He was like, you need to invest because, when you're, 25 or 28 or whatever, you don't see the end of something. You don't see all the hills and valleys that you may have in your life. And he encouraged me to invest, which has really saved me in a lot of different ways, because as actors, you don't work all the time. If you're lucky, you work all the time, but you don't work every year, every day. You don't get a weekly check or whatever. So I've gotten so much love and support throughout my life, that it's priceless. So, you know, just priceless.
That's wonderful. So, like, in terms of your transition from LA to Atlanta, what was that like? The film industry changing from the two different locations, or how are they alike?
Well, the cool thing about the industry now, it used to be when I started, I felt like it was New York or LA. Now, I don't think it matters so much. The world is small. Like here, we're doing an interview and we're all in different places. Um, and I feel like Hollywood is everywhere. It's wherever you're shooting the film. And if your location can be here or there, and once you work and you start to work in the industry, it really doesn't matter, because you can, even now, you don't have to go in to do the audition. You do it, you can send in the video. So things have changed a lot in the industry. And because of that, I'm able to be closer to my family. Being a Floridian, a lot of my family's migrated to Georgia. So moving here was more about me getting closer to my family than the industry. But because how the industry has changed, it's become small, and we're all pretty much in the same space, and we can be with a click of a phone, if you can get on Skype faster than I have. But I just feel like you don't have to be in one of those places or three of those places. I feel like it's everywhere. And then you can just get on a plane and go where you need to physically be, wherever they're shooting. So it made it easier for me to come back home, or in this case, closer to home.
Yeah, exactly. Wherever you're feeling more comfortable, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, you can live pretty much anywhere. Now if you happen to, because if even if I lived in Los Angeles and I happened to get a show that was shooting in North Carolina, I would have to leave my base place and go live in South Carolina while I'm filming, whether it was a movie or television show or whatever. And now you can do that with the way that we audition. Before, you had to go into the room, and it's not so much of that anymore. You go on tape or
Hmm.
video or however.
Yeah, that's actually so interesting. I've heard of a lot of actors lately struggling with doing self-tapes because it takes so long you're such a perfectionist, a person, just
Yes.
like trying to do it takes a long time. What have your
I
experiences been?
say, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the end of it. What did you say?
What have your experiences been with like conducting self-tapes now that it's different from going into a room for an audition?
I actually prefer self tape because I can get nervous depending on the situation. Um, Once I focus, I don't care who's in the room. But before that focus, I can be distracted. So if I'm in a space that I can control, I'm easier able to go to the character. So I actually like self tape, but I don't believe you should do it if you're not good at it. There are places that you can pay them to record you, and that's what I suggest, because it's hard to do your own tape if you're not good at that, because that's a whole nother muscle. Now you're the director and the videographer, and and the lighting
Yeah.
person and all of that. Now you have to be the wardrobe person, and if you're doing your audition, you have to kind of direct yourself with kind of working the camera, finding your right angles, and all that stuff. That's a lot more to do if you're not technical. But people nowadays are more technical than some of us that are a little bit older. But I just say it's not that expensive to pay to put yourself on tape. And if you have to do it with your phone, I just go close up and be as honest as possible, and make it simple.
Yeah. Well, let me get back to my next question. How do you differentiate your self from other production companies in terms of Hollywood East?
Well, I don't know that I focus much on other people, but I can tell you what the work that I've tried to do and work on is like I've always wanted to tell honest stories about my experience or what I believe people like me would find honest. So I love romantic comedies and dramedies. I focus on women and what we go through and how we feel, and people that will find our perspective, believable and understand and can learn and grow and be entertained by. So that's what it is. I've never actually thought about it against anyone else, but I've always wanted to tell an honest story. I'm fascinated with romance because I just think in this country we haven't figured it out very well. Half the people that get married, even more divorce. The whole dance before you get together. I mean, it's really dramatic. And I think there's so many wonderful stories in it. And I like to make fun of it. So I love romantic comedies and dramedies. When you bring in the family and the friends and all of that good stuff, I think it's great for us to learn to go through it so we can figure it out. So I personally like that first. But I'm into other things. But my company, that's a focus.
Yeah, that's really awesome. You mentioned how you love to portray women in the films that you work on. So, as a Black woman in this creative field, could you speak to where Black women have come from in this field, where they are at now, and where they're going?
Um, I'm very proud of the images that we have today. Everything has been in the past so stereotypical and coming from, a lot of people would say maids and slaves and, all of these images and the friend that's so far from the lead. And I feel today you see so many African American women that are leaders in the movie. They're the lead. They're the beauty. They're intelligent. Even I felt like J.J. Abrams kind of broke the mold. Even with my character, she was like the smartest one on the show. I think that there's so much more of that now. And with the industry becoming easier for people to make movies and to film, and you're seeing more films, there's just so much more to see. While there's some crazy stuff where there's the images that I don't like, but there's so much more that are positive, where we have leading women that are strong and intelligent and articulate. So I'm just so happy that we have so much to choose from. I remember once upon a time there was one Black film, or you would see, and everybody ran out to see that one Black film. Now there's so many, you can't even see all the films. There's so many different avenues where you can see so many films. And it's not just Black, but you can see Asian films and Latin films. It's just the world has opened up, and Hollywood is just not in Hollywood, California. It's all over, and people are telling their stories, and they're able to tell their stories because you had to have film, and film was really expensive. And you rolling the tape, and it took millions and millions of dollars. I mean, once upon a time, $20 million was a low budget film. That's no longer. Okay, $20 million now is a major film. And I like that because it's made it easier for people to tell their stories. And I just think that I'm very hopeful and very happy about where we're going and what I just think there's endless now. With you can find your own audience, you can have your own channel. I mean, it's like you can create your own show. It's a whole nother world today, and I'm excited to see what else is going to happen. I mean, we're watching it on our phones, and no one ever thought of that. I mean, back in the day, you had this big phone that was tied to a string that was tied to the wall. Now you can do everything on that phone. So I just feel like the world is really, really opened up and kind of come together in a way. And now we have just a plethora of choices, and people are out there doing it, all kinds of people. So that's exciting.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how we keep progressing and just
I know, right? It's like, where will it end? Will it end? How is it going to go? it's exciting to be, in the industry this time, and to see how it was before, and to see the mystery go away. I remember, if you had a crane shot, I don't know if you know what a crane shot is, but you can do with a drone, $1,000 piece of equipment, what you had to take, I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars to do back in the day, and all day and all night and all kind of angles to get. Now you've got a drone that can get up and get that shot, come all the way around, come into your face, zoom in on the flowers, and come. I mean, it's just, and that makes it easy for everybody to do. So that's really wonderful, actually, because no longer is it, you know, you have to have all this money, and so I just think it's so accessible for everybody. So I think it's wonderful, and I think that now the sky's the limit, and now people just have to do what they want to do and tell the stories that they want to tell, and do the work behind the marketing and get it out there.
Yeah.
Now, in a way that makes it hard, because now you've got to do a lot more as an actor if you want to do all that, but you can, and you can team up with people, and it's possible, where you just couldn't imagine it before. You had to know somebody that knows somebody that had to hire you, and so it's definitely more accessible, and you've got more work to do.
Yeah, it's definitely awesome to see how the film industry is changing so much in a positive way. So I was wondering, are there any causes or issues that you think should be discussed more by female leaders in the film industry?
Oh God, there's so many things. I would like us to continue to be proud of who we are and what we bring to the table. I think men and women are equal, but we're not always the same, and we bring different things to the table. And I like to see us continue to push that. God, I personally am. I think bullying and keeping children strong in school is important, but I think everybody's got to kind of find what's important to them. Um, and as we break down the male and female roles of what we can do, I have found it difficult as a female producer sometimes, because sometimes people just want to hear it from a man, and it's a part of our culture, and not just our culture, but many cultures, and we continue to break down those walls, and I just think we have to just keep on pushing, and not get so angry about it, but just continue to keep coming with it, and those walls will continue to come down. And sometimes the perspective is just different, just as important, but different. And you want that, because that yin and yang makes it amazing. And sometimes you just want to hear it from a female's point of view, and we have to live in that space and be secure in that space and proud of that. And I think as long as we keep moving that way, and if we can all kind of move, or at least come from a positive way, I think it'd be easier to change some of the things that we have going on. But I don't know that I would say anyway. I can only talk about the things that are important to me. I work with a nonprofit to support that, and I have a nonprofit called EAT, which is Education, Arts, and Entertainment. I think traveling, of course, we can't travel now, but traveling and educating and reaching back and sharing and just growing outside of your community helps. But I think as long as you're doing something to kind of move us forward and pay it forward, I'm happy. And I think that people in the industry are sometimes a little bit more open than people that are not. And I think that we just have to remember that, and always try to attach ourselves to something outside of what it is that we're doing in the industry, just as an entertainer. And as long as you can do something, I'm happy. And I think that I guess I challenge artists to always do more than what you're doing just as an artist. Find some nonprofit or some cause to speak up, because people do listen. And I think that you have that voice, and it's nice when you can use that voice. So as long as you're doing something that you are proud of outside of just your work, I think that's great. And I think that I'd like to see actors and people in the industry always do that, because we can, even if it's not on a major scale, but you have a voice, and you always have a voice in the work that you're doing. And I think that we should use it, that's my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And on the topic of your nonprofit, Education, Arts, and Travel, could you talk about the mission and why it's so important to you?
Well, I I always felt that, in the country, and I can only really speak from my perspective, sometimes we're limited from where to what we know and what our community is. But when we get outside, just going to another country, and I like to travel to another country, a country I've never visited every year. I don't know what's going to happen this year because we can't go anywhere. Nobody wants us. But I just think that you grow when you understand not just the people that you're visiting, but yourself. And I just feel when you bring that, you marry that to arts and education, you just kind of grow because it's all about healing and growing and being better. And I believe that it just opens you up as an artist. So I focus this organization focuses on sharing that. And sometimes it's not always about leaving the country, but leaving your community, leaving your state, leaving, just your ethnicity and just learning about other people. I think it makes you more open. I think it grows you as an artist, and I think it makes you a better person. So that's kind of the goal. I mean, initially, basically, we want to actually teach people, how to act and how to do the work, but we also want to grow them outside of their community. So that's why it's education, arts, and travel. Um, and I think it's just important because it's been life changing for me just visiting. And I started out of curiosity, being from Miami. We had so many different people from all over the world. I just kind of wanted to know where everybody was from. But I realized the more I traveled, the more I understood myself and the more people that I understood. And I just think that it helps us, in general. So I'd like to share that through work.
Yeah. Wow. So you talk about like engaging and expanding your knowledge in terms of all the arts. What is it like producing and or directing a film that you also act in? Are there challenges or is
Ooh,
it
it's a big
easier?
question. Um, you've got to be able to multitask, to say it lightly. It's a lot of work that I really, really enjoy. Ah, it started out as a necessity. I had hired someone to direct, and I was trying to anyway, and it was hard. They were not able to do it, and we had everybody ready to go. And my casting director, she was like, "You can do this. You should direct it." I was like, "I'm not ready to direct. I don't want to do anything else." And I think producing. Let me just try to see if I can roll it back a little bit. Producing is about organizing. A lot of the producing happens before you actually get to set, and then you have people doing their jobs. Because you've got to cast, you've got to find the locations, you've got to get the script, you've got to hire all the directors and everybody that's going to do everything. So that happens is almost most of the producing happens in pre-production. So if you're organized and you put everything together, you can produce it. Of course, if something happens, you've got to handle it on the spot. So being able to do that, like I said, being the oldest and having been the type of person that you can depend on to do those types of things made producing a little bit easier or more natural to me, because it's not easy. I don't want to say it's easy because you got to just get it done and you got to work hard, but it came a little bit natural for my personality and what I had gone through. Now the directing was not really on purpose. None of it really, to be honest. But my first time directing was not really on purpose. But I did understand the characters because I wrote the characters, and being able to do that was so much fun. It made me fall in love with acting again. Directing, in my opinion, is super acting because you get to kind of direct and I guess nudge in the way that you believe the character should go with the actor, because the actor has to make it come to life, but you get to kind of guide that. And it's like you love the characters. As a producer, you almost kind of like everything that you don't like about what people do, you really feel as a producer, because if this goes wrong and that goes wrong, you gotta hire this person. So it's a little bit stressful. And when I started to direct, it's like I fell in love with the whole industry again, because you love when people can bring a character, when you find the right person that can make those words sing, you're just like, oh my God. And when people kind of deliver what you envisioned, it's like you're just it's wonderful. So um, it's amazing. It's a lot of work, but you have to have support. I can't say that I've done any of it all alone. I've had wonderful people. Karia Muhammad, who's a great co-producer. Makita, um, just a lot of Eric. People support you, so you don't do it all. Wardrobe, hair, makeup, they all come together to help these characters live, and all of that happens when you're directing and producing. But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but it's a whole lot of fun. But I think as an actress, I will say directing has been so much more fun than producing because you got the headaches of the producing, you got the problems and the issues of the producing. But if that's a necessity in order to get the work done, then you're going to do it. And but you're playing, you're having fun when you're directing, just like you are when you're acting. But you're having fun with all of the characters and the whole set, and the scene and how it's going to come together. So it's really enjoyable if you enjoy it. Like people in the industry, a lot of people say we would do it for free. You love it. It feels like your hobby.
I'm actually really interested in learning about your experiences with directing and producing. Is there a specific story that you could share that was like one of your most fun times directing or producing here in Atlanta or LA?
Okay, Loving of the Four Letter Words is my favorite. This was actually my first, and I did it in Chicago, Alabama, and LA. It was just wonderful to have an idea of a story that you kind of create, and you hire all the actors, and to bring that together. I didn't direct this one. It was just so much fun, and at that time I was happy to set it up because the producers kind of set it up, and then you kind of I got to make sure I answer your first question. Is you set it up as a producer if you have to act in it, so that you can be free enough to kind of work on the character. So your prep is really, really important. Then you can have space and time, and then you got to hire strong people to kind of run the show for you. And then, great director and everybody. Stephen Amului was our director for that. And it was fun. It was really fun to see this come from an idea put on paper, you know, team of 100 or so people, you know, large cast, hundreds of people, including the extras. It was just amazing. And then have people like it, it was wonderful. The first time I directed Diva Diaries, it was just great because this was like all my girlfriends, as crazy as we are, as wonderful as we are, as it was wonderful to tell those stories with all these girls. So it's almost kind of like, you've got all these dolls, and everybody's kind of doing all this fun stuff, and we're able to tell all the silly things that happen to women. And then some of which are my friends, and I won't tell their names, but we put them all in characters. That was just a lot of fun. It made me fall in love with acting again. So I guess I'm not sure if I answered your question, but all of it's different. And I think if you prepare, you can easier produce and act. And directing is a little bit hard, and acting, because you want to see it. And I think the more I direct, the less I will act, so that you want to see everything and you want to make sure you're guiding everybody in the right way. But that was even fun. It was still fun because you fall in love with the character. You just kind of you don't want to I didn't want to be in it. I wanted to see it, and I wanted to make sure everybody was doing what they were, what they were supposed to be doing. So that was fun. I think it's harder. I find it easier to produce and act than it is to direct and act. I can direct and produce easier than directing and acting, because you got to act yourself. You got to come and look at the camera, and go back and forth.
Yeah, so, it seems like a lot of work.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. It's much easier to to direct and produce and act and produce than to direct and act.
Mm-hmm.
I found it. I don't know what other people would say, but that's what I felt.
Yeah. So on to the topic of being an entrepreneur. So what are some bits of advice you would give to young women who are in the early stages of starting their business?
Preparation is everything. And I would say really, really be frugal with your finances. Sometimes, you mean as a producer, or as a filmmaker, or any kind of entrepreneur?
Any kind of entrepreneur.
I would say preparation, and look at, walk down the street. Not that you want to, call any bad energy, but you want to look at all the things that can possibly go wrong and try to be prepared for those things. And to always spend the money wisely, because when people invest in you and you invest your hard-earned money, you don't want to spend it any kind of way. You want to always always have a reserve, and always try to prepare for needing more finances, because it always seems to happen, especially when you're making movies. So I think prepare is what I would say. And talk to people who are doing what it is that you want to do, so that you can better prepare. You can't prepare enough, but at some point you have to pull the trigger, and it's okay. I think it's okay if it doesn't go exactly the way that you want it, but you still need to pull the trigger, even if everything's not there. You've got to kind of go for it.
Yeah. And you also mentioned that there could be some slight differentiation with being a filmmaker and / entrepreneur. Would your tips be any different for a filmmaker?
I still believe that you need to prepare. And I was going to talk about finances, because sometimes, a lot of us, if you don't have your own money to invest in your project, you have to find investors. And I find that as a producer, investors trust you more if you can stick to the budget. And that's one of the things that I was going to say. I'm sorry, I'm going to need some water in a minute. But I find that sometimes people get the budget and they get the investor, and then they just kind of cut loose and they want to do everything. And if they need more money, we'll just go back to the investor and get more money. That's hard. People need you to stick to what it is that you said that you could do. And you have to prepare, and try to stay within that budget. And because if you make a film and you stay within budget and you can be successful, it's likely that they'll probably invest again. But if you don't, and then you're just all over the place once you've got this thing halfway in, and you think, okay, they've got to keep it going, so they're going to give me more money to do it the way I really want to do it. Yes, but they probably won't give you the project again if it's not successful. So I think it's important to keep that in mind. And I kind of try to encourage young filmmakers to really, really respect the investor, because that's their hard-earned money. And even if you're an entrepreneur of another kind, it's your hard-earned money, it's somebody's hard-earned money, it's the loan or whatever that you may have to pay back. But you want to be frugal and wise in that way, and prepare, and have a mentor. Do research. That's all a part of preparation. And I think that's probably one of the most important things that you can do to be successful at anything.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that advice. I have one last question, and it's kind of a big one. So beyond the portrayal of women in media today, conversations about racial injustice movements are happening now more than ever. In what ways have you used your platform and your company to raise awareness?
I try to do it in my characters. I think it's important for me not to hit people over the head, but to have those positive images in my stories. And I believe that people can look up to the characters that I play. They can look up to the characters that are in the movies and be proud of those things, and to tell those. And I feel that everybody's going to do what they feel is important, but I think one of the best things that we can do as artists is show people how it ought to be. And I like to show intelligent women, intelligent men loving each other, supporting each other, and making it work, and everybody else supporting that. And I think that's important. So however you choose to express yourself, I think you should be doing something if you're an artist. And for me, being the example you would like to see is everything.
Yeah, that's so great. I completely agree with you. And in terms of, media, it really frames your interests, your identity. And I think you're completely spot on with saying that change comes through the characters that you write and you put out there. So right. Thank you, Tanji, for all your insight. And by the way, I want to mention to anyone listening that Ebony magazine named Tanji one of the most beautiful people of the millennium. She really is. And for our audience, go check out tanjimiller.com and @joinmayshad on Instagram. Thank you so much for everything.